Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. Well, you know, every morning I get up and I read your questions. I read every single comment that comes into this channel. I sit down every morning and I read it, and then along with emails, and I usually get anywhere between 20 and 100 emails a day. And but this morning I got another one coming in from Brian, who was talking about the frames and wanted to know specifically, because I've only done a couple of videos here on the channel about how I make these types of frames. Some frames that you see here, frames like you see back behind there. I build about 80% of our own frames here. I've done it for years. I started out, you know, I have a full cabinet shop, but I usually use just a limited few amount of tools to build the frames. I try to make frames that most average woodworkers or artists can build. Now, a lot of my friends who follow me in wildlife, we build our own frames because we usually make a frame that fits our wildlife a little bit better than some of the commercial frames you could buy. Anyway, long story short, I get a lot of these questions here, and I'm just interested in how many of you would like to learn more about building your own frames, cost-effective ways to build your own frames. I'm not sure how many out there want to do that. I'm not sure, do I do something like this and put it into our membership? See, if I make a video and and that video is not successful on our channel, YouTube will crash our channel. So I have to be careful what I do put on our channel. It has to be popular. I hope you understand that. And so I don't know, because frame steps a little bit outside the painting. But I want to show you a little bit of introduction in this video about what I do, how I do some of the stuff that I do. And then my thinking is, if this video becomes popular enough, we can look at building some of these frames together, and I can show you how to build, how to stain, how to do all the different decorative techniques that you see. Like Brian was asking, how do you get this patina over the gold that you did on this one frame? And I'd love to show that to you guys. It's all acrylic. I use the all acrylic systems. So I'd love to show that to you guys. But let me take a few minutes and show you how really easy some of these frames are, okay? So this is one of my favorite that I built. And, you know, how much does a frame cost? You know, lately some of our wood supplies and stuff like that have gone up quite a bit. But a frame like this one right here, cost me about, I would say around $12 to build. And that's mostly because I use pre-made manufactured molding here and here. I could get away with this little beaded edge. That's a hard one to do, so I just go purchase that. And they're not hard to purchase. They're not expensive to purchase. This right here. This is another example of the beaded edge. This little beaded edge that I got here, I get it for a 4-foot section like this at the Home Depot. It was about $3, so it runs a little less than $3 a foot. And something like this can almost do this, a frame this size. But for 11 by 14, you can come pretty close, or maybe a 10 by 10 or so. But I get these, and I get all kinds of smaller little parts of it. I save them all because they'll all be used on other frames. But you can buy, there's all different kinds of patterns. So there's this little beaded edge here, and this one, and you'll see multiple patterns. This one I happen to use on this particular frame that I used here, that I did a large portrait on, and I built this. This is an end cutting of a frame. I'll show you how I did that. But you can buy pre-made sections of molding and then put them together. You can do it all yourself, okay? So with this one that I have here, what I did with this particular thing here is I have a beaded edge. I have a linen here. I apply this linen to the wood with sealer. I'll show you all of that. I've showed some of you that before. We can go into how I do that really easily. Some of my friends use spray adhesives. Those work also. There's a lot of different ways to use it. And so this is a linen board. So I take a board that I get that's like this, And these are really great boards. I love this. This is pine. This is called blue pine because it's got a defect in it of the blue into the wood. And I go get this at my local Home Depot. And for an 8-foot section of this planed 4 sides, so 4 sides of it are all smooth, an 8-foot section of this is $5. And I get it in the basically in the castaway because a lot of people don't like it because of the color. But I'll show you how I get away with that. But I take a board that's like this and I cut it to that width, and then I glue the linen onto it, and you can see on here to the back side of this one here, you can see the pieces of it. So this is an outside piece here glued to the flat glue to that. And you know, it's a great way. You have to look at the components. So this little piece here is a separate component. The board's a component, and that's a component. And I can show you how we can, you know, build all of those things together. And this is what I do. The other day I put up a video. Let me set that down so I don't knock it. I love that frame. The other day I did a video of the Absaroka Mountains. And so I'm right now building a frame for it. This is a frame I've decided I'm going to do for the Absaroka here. And what I have right now is it's prepped, getting ready for its full finish. So very seldom do I stain a frame when I'm done, especially if I'm using blue wood. I put a full finish on the top of it to make it look like wood grain and stuff like that. So I've got the frame built here. I have not prepped the back side of it, so I thought I'd show you. So see, you can see this is the blue wood to the outside here. This is a separate piece of molding here, and all I did was take the molding and surround it by the blue wood. So this is the piece of molding that I got right from the Home Depot. This comes from a company called House of Farah. And this molding for an 8-foot section of it, I think the last time I paid for it, it had gone up in price, was like $12. So I can make this whole frame here for less than $15. And so what I do is I take this thing, and it's a picture frame molding, so it already has the rabbit inside here. You can see it has a rabbit right there that the picture will sit inside. And then what I do is I just take any kind of thickness of wood or something like that, like I did on this one, and I added a thicker sheet size with a relief to the outside. So that's what you see here. So that's this molding here, and then I just take a thicker piece, another piece, and I glue that right up onto the end here. And then I have that frame, and then I cut it into its 45-degree lengths and all that kind of stuff. And I can show you all of that, how I use a guillotine cutter, how I use my chop saw guillotine cutter to make these absolutely perfect 45s that you can get into your frames so that your frames are really, really pretty and very professional. So I glued that all on, and so this is what it all looks like in the back before it gets prepped. So then I give it a coat like this, and then it gets a faux finish. And that's what I do, is I love to get the faux finishes on. So what is a faux finish? Let me show you this one. This is a frame I did, the portrait of this boy. He is on the channel here. And so I built this entire frame here for him. Very inexpensive. Usually when I use multiple moldings like this, it's going to cost maybe double the cost of the wood. We go up between $30, $40 for a frame like this. But this is another pre-built, pre-cost of a molding here. And then this one here to the outside. And so it's a molding that's kind of like this. And what I do is, so this like a molding that's like this, before I do that, I actually pre-stain the molding. So I paint it, and then this is a faux finish that I put up on top that makes it look like wood grain, but it's not. It's paint sitting up on top. And then sometimes I'll darken it and wipe off the edges here. I like to do that. But you can see this is the base color of the frame. And because this frame is so big, I used what are called pocket screws in here that hold it together, because this is a heavier duty frame. And so I use pocket screws sometimes to hold it together. There's all different kinds of ways, and I can show you, which are some of the better ways to do that. But it's a beautiful frame. And so everything here, so he starts out and I make a solid color, and then I turn around and I faux finish it. Because faux finish, we're artists, we can do this, right? It works really, really easy. And sometimes I pre-finish the molding like you see here. and then put it on. Sometimes I'll paint the entire frame and wipe it on. So this is one that I just got ready this morning. This is going to be for a commission piece. And so this one, so you can see, it's a little different. Let's put this one over. Sometimes you can build big, heavy frames that are a lot of fun. This one is going to be for a commission painting. And so I've put the frame in. I know it's going to be for a commission floral. So I've got the inside panel done. I have the outside of the frame, everything here all done. And it's a simple, easy to do frame. And but I won't pick the color yet of the frame until I do the painting, and then I'll match the faux finish. Sometimes I make a frame that's like this. I end up doing it blues or raw umbers or browns. I do all different kinds of things with the frame. But again, this is a super easy frame to build. It's just 2 components, and you can see it here. I used the blue wood here, and then I cut a rabbet into the blue wood. I'll show you how to do it. You could do it with a router. You can do it with a table saw. It's easy to cut a rabbet in there like that, a little groove for a panel. That groove just holds the panel down in here, and then we can talk about mounting it and all that kind of stuff. But I put that in, and so I have the flat wood, and this is just a piece of molding here. Here it is right here. This is just a piece of molding here that you can get, and I think for a 8-foot section of this molding was like $10 over at Menards, another home store, and they carry it. So I just take that molding that's right here, I put glue on it, and I line up the edges here very, very carefully because I'm going to sand it and then sand it, then those edges will disappear. And then I use just really simple spring clamps and so I take spring clamps, I glue it on, and then those spring clamps will hold that in place as the glue dries. And then I have the molding done, and I'll cut the rabbet. I can put linen in there. I can do different colors. I can do all different kinds of stuff. And it's a lot of fun. It's some of the things that's the most difficult is to think of all the different ways, how many different moldings you can put together to get different looks to your frames. But that's something we can all discuss. If that's something that you want to do with the channel, we can do that. I've got to be, I need to know because I don't know how many of you would be interested in seeing how we go about finishing some of this stuff. But they can be really fun. Now let me show you, like here, okay, what's this? Some of these, I got so many. I do over 100 frames a year here. And I just love figuring out all different kinds of ways. And so a lot of times I go look in art galleries and stuff, not at the picture, but the frame, how they do in the frame. This is one that I did. Now I painted this this mule deer here on, no I didn't. I don't think I filmed this here. I think I just did this one day as a study, because a lot of times I paint stuff as studies and I don't film them for you guys. So I think I did this as a study. So I did this mule deer, and I wanted to concentrate in here on his head and have him fade away over here, trying a different look to it. And but then I wanted to put him in a very simplistic frame here so that your eye really just came in right into the mule deer. And so I built this frame. And since he had a lot of really toned burnt siennas that I used in here, I created him with the burnt sienna and the blue. That's this real dark color here. I created a frame, and then I stained it with acrylic stain with burnt sienna and blue. And so what I went out and I found old wood, just trashy wood at the Home Depot that had knots and everything else in it. And then I put it together. So this is just 2 pieces of wood. It's a flat piece of wood and then another piece of wood here glued up onto the edge. And I think, yeah, you can see it here. So, and it had knots and everything else in it. And I liked that. And so I used a flat piece, cut a rabbet in it. But then I did this. See all this? This is called distressing. See all the little, I took a screwdriver or knife and I stabbed it and did all kinds of stuff. And then I stained it so I wanted the frame to look really, really old and to go with a more rustic look of what I was doing with the painting. And it's ever since I got into real wildlife, so this has got me into looking at older frames, and so now I got a stack. I have a friend that took down his outside fence. His fence boards have been in there. They've been weathered for years, and they're great, beautiful weathered wood. I've got a whole stack of it out there, probably 1,500 board feet of it. I'm going to turn that all into frames for my wildlife and stuff. And, I'll cut different moldings, different reliefs and stuff like that. And everything I cut, I save little pieces. So this is little pieces off of a frame that I'll use on other frames. And so you can be very, very economical. But I do this all the time, and it's even to the real big ones. So I did this guy on the channel. That's his frame that I decided to put him in. That has it has 2 pieces of purchase molding on it, 2 different edges of it. The rest of it is there. So it's not really an expense. A big frame like that, you're looking at $300-400. You can build it for not even I'd say that one right there, maybe $60 or so. I'd have to look at the molding to see, but maybe $60. So building frames can save you a ton of money. And the other thing of it is, we have a lot of composite frames, and I build composite frames from composite materials, and I show you how to do that. I can show you how to do that as well. That really lowers the cost. But sometimes, like with this guy that hangs up in the other filming studio I have upstairs, he hangs up there. So some of you've probably seen him up there in the background. I like to have real wood frames and stuff like that around me on that. So, and as a matter of fact, on the in the other studio, on the Paint It Simply studio, when you saw me paint those, you'll see that big elk. That's a beautiful big frame that I put behind there, using multiple faux finishes to get all of that weathered wood look to it. So we can do stuff like that. I can show you all of these moldings. We could have a bit of fun, showing you, how do you put together, glue together the moldings, put down the linen, glue the moldings onto a flat piece. This one just happens. This one overrides and builds the rabbit. So sometimes I will override, as I glue it together, I will create the rabbit. You don't have to cut a rabbit. You can create the rabbit by sliding one molding out over the edge of the others, and then your rabbit is there. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And then what Brian was asking me is, how do you finishing all this? And so that's a whole other thing that we can go in, how I do a base coat, a primer coat, or something, or how I determine the undercoat of this frame is going to be, and then how I go about putting a faux finish up on top of this very quickly to make it look like wood grain, to make it look different colors, to give patinas of it. How do you get the gold color on this stuff? I mean, there's 1,000 different ways to do it. So just a real quick video to show you that I can do something like this with you guys if you want to do that. How am I going to determine this? It's going to be on your comments down below. How many people watch this video? How many people like this video? And if I don't get enough, that's going to justify putting it onto the channel. Maybe if I get enough, I can put it over into the membership there, because the membership videos are not tracked with YouTube. Everything we do is tracked on YouTube. And so we've spent so many years building this channel. We do have to be careful. That's why I'm always asking you guys, do you want to do something? And that's why I'm always asking you guys, like the video and comment, because that keeps our analytics up. Because if I put on a video and the analytics aren't there, like this one, if this starts to crash our channel, then I'll take it off and we won't do it. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's all off of what the viewers want to see. So if you want to see something like this, and if not, if we don't get enough to put it on the main channel, we'll put it over in the membership. Okay, but leave us some comments, talk about it. I would love to teach you guys how to do all of this stuff, because frames today are so expensive. And all right here on this back wall, all around me, I have all of these frames and all of these beautiful things that I can teach you guys, show you some really, really fun techniques to create faux grain, faux finishes, antiquings, patinas, and gold leafing. There's gold leafing that we could do. We could do all this stuff, okay? So it could be a lot of fun, all right? So let me know and write a comment. And tomorrow morning, I'll sit there and I'll sit down and I'll read all your comments, and we'll decide how and if we can fit this type of frame into this particular channel. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Up next, some of you like it. Up next is I got him right over there on a. I have my big Western, so we're going to do big Western, and I'm thinking I have to do this. I have to do this commission floral. I'm thinking about painting that one as well with you guys so you can see that one. So I'll do that commission floral, and then which is this one right here. And it might be fun, so I can do the commission floral, then show you how to finish up the frame. And then I also have a animal portrait of a husky that I have to do as a commission, and I think I'm going to film that one as well. So we have a lot of stuff coming up into the studio. So I'll let me know. Talk to me, guys, okay? And we'll see if we can fit this in. Thanks very much. See you on the next one.